Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today we have the final official results of the state election in Brandenburg. I talked about this yesterday, and as I told you back then, it was gonna be a very tight race for position number 1 between the socialists of the SPD and the patriots from the AFD. And as it turned out, the SPD was successful by a tiny margin of 1.7%. It is a small but clear difference, and so Mr. Dietmar Woidke of the Social Democrat Party is the winner of the election in Brandenburg. In today's presentation, I will go over these final results and also put things into perspective, because I think this is a Pyrrhic victory, and no, this is not desperate white pill coping here. This is what a lot of people in the mainstream even are also saying. Nobody celebrates on the left right now in Germany. The central government in Berlin, the federal government, is under a lot of pressure right now, and people are estimating, they are expecting that our federal government will not last until next year even. By the way, elections for the Bundestag in Berlin are in 1 year roundabout. But before we start, I want to thank all my supporters, my subscribers, and thank you for watching this. If you appreciate my services and if you want to, you can support me via Patreon or Subscribestar. The links are down below. But the best thing you can do for my channel is share it with your friends and family. Okay, let's get right into the results. As I already said, SPD and AfD round about 30%. Then there are 2 more parties that made it into parliament. I spoke about this yesterday too. It seems like none of these smaller parties gained a direct seat in parliament through winning a voting district. None of them managed that. And that would have been the only chance for them to get into parliament when their general outcome in the vote is below 5%. That's the 5% threshold that we have here. So, position number 3 goes to the Bündnis Sarah Wagenknecht, a far-left communist party, and then the smallest faction in the Potsdam Parliament of Brandenburg is the CDU, Angela Merkel's pseudo-conservative cuck party. So it is really great to see that the Green Party, the pseudo-liberal party, and also the communist Die Linke, they did not make it into parliament, and the Green Party and the Liberal Party, the FDP, they are devastated right now. Bear in mind that together with the SPD, they form the traffic light or Ampel coalition that is ruling right now in Berlin. So we have patriots, cucks, and commies in the Brandenburg state parliament right now. And when we look at the number of seats that these votes translate into, we see that the SPD and the CDU together, they don't have a majority. They have 44 out of 88 seats, and that is 1 seat short of a simple majority. So the CDU already declined an offer from Mr. Woidke to initiate talks. Mr. Woidke will have to talk to the BSW, who have 2 seats more than the CDU. So together the SPD and the communists would have a 2-seat majority in parliament, so 46 seats. And that is what will probably happen because, as I told you many times, none of these established globalist parties wants to have or wants to even entertain the idea of a coalition with the AfD. So it is kind of interesting when you look at what happened since the last election. You see here who won the different districts in Brandenburg. You see that there is even one district that was won by the Green Party in the northeast, and you see a couple of CDU wins, but mostly AfD and SPD. And when you look now at 2024, at the present year, you see it's only AfD and SPD, with the AfD, it seems like, winning all the districts or most of the districts, let's say, that are not directly neighboring Berlin. You see, because the white hole in the middle, you must know, is our wonderful city-state of Berlin. And as a living space there since 2015, for some miraculous reason, became scarce. People tend to migrate now into Brandenburg, which they in former times vilified as being the home of the uncultured rednecks here, but now they're forced to live there, and they bring with them their leftist voting behavior, maybe similar to what you see in Texas, for example, when all those migrants from California swarm in and vote Democrat, for example. Anyway, but now back to the actual topic of the presentation, and that is, after showing you all the results, why is this a Pyrrhic victory for the establishment, for the SPD? Well, I already told you that the smaller parties, like the Green Party and the Liberal Party, they're under a lot of pressure because their members, their MPs that had to vacate their seats now, they get really angry and they pressure their leadership to break up the coalition in Berlin, because everyone hates this Ampel coalition right now. And even Mr. Voigtke was avoiding any kind of public appearance together with the Chancellor Olaf Scholz, which is normally kind of untypical because you want to show that you're an important guy who is close to the Chancellor. But here he really treated the higher-ups of the SPD as toxic almost. He didn't want to associate with them. And this is why he got this great result, I think. So his tactic during his campaign was to not appear as if he is like those party bigwigs in Berlin. I heard that he even advocated for checks at the border, so he directly adopted an AfD position. So goes without saying that this is not really, this result is maybe good for the SPD in Brandenburg, or they won or whatever, and they gave the federal government a little more time. But ultimately, it is not stabilizing the regime in Berlin right now. And then also the CDU is kind of pissed at the SPD or at their own leadership, because the governor of Saxony, Mr. Kretschmer, CDU guy, he said before the election that some people should vote SPD and not CDU. So he basically campaigned for the SPD guy and not for the CDU guy in Brandenburg. And that is absolutely crazy if you ask me. But this is exactly this tactic that the establishment has, that everyone gets behind the one guy that has the most prospects of succeeding against the AfD. Yeah, but then what about the poor result of the CDU that was a consequence of that tactic? If you know how politics works at the micro level, it is all about pensions, positions, cushy administrative office jobs, and being able to put other things in such positions. Yeah? It is all about these little jobs. And a lot of CDU guys lost these kinds of positions now, and they are pissed right now. So that will make it harder and harder to work together in the future. And these stunts, they work a couple of times, but they don't work long term. Also, the coalition talks obviously haven't even started yet, but I can imagine that the BSW, being very pro-Russian and very against NATO, for example, stationing US defense systems or maybe attack systems, wink wink, here in Germany is something that the pro-Russian BSW is absolutely opposed to. And those will be very interesting coalition talks then. So if they want the BSW, the SPD that is, if they want the BSW in order to form a stable majority government in Brandenburg, they will have to adopt a couple of anti-NATO, some anti-Ukrainian positions maybe even, and that will be quite interesting. So yeah, technically they won, and Mr. Voigtke, I'm sure, will become the governor of Brandenburg. But in order to make that happen, they had to strike a deal with not only one devil, but several ones. So they opened up a whole big can of worms in order to get this very, very narrow win against the AfD. And I already told you the AfD would not have ruled anyway because they need an absolute majority. I just told you that it will become a very uncomfortable coalition. Now it works with 2 parties. It would have been nicer if it required 3 parties, because that would have been even more dysfunctional and awkward and would expose the greed and the evil nature of the globalists even more clearly. But I think BSW and SPD together, that will become a travesty anyway, and a lot of opportunity for the opposition to expose the regime right now. Also, the AfD reached a blocking minority. That means they have a third of the votes, and for some things like changing the constitution, stuff like that, you need a 2/3 majority, and the AfD can block this. And that will become also very interesting. I'm looking forward to the instances in which they can put that to some use. Alright, so these are just the things from the top of my head that I can come up with of why this wasn't really a win for the establishment. And yeah, you see the AfD and the youth of the AfD, they are partying, they are listening to songs about remigration, and they want to send millions home where they belong. And that is what's going on in Germany right now. Maybe the day isn't that far that we can actually send our dear guests packing and, on a flight back into their sunny, warm home countries where they actually belong to. But one way or another, the way it is right now in Germany is unsustainable, and it will end in a positive way for Germans, or it will end in disaster for everyone. But it won't go on like this. Our economy just simply cannot sustain these extreme levels of central planning, economy, the air tax, and all this green energy BS, and at the same time millions of people who want to live somewhere, who want money, who want food, who want all kinds of services, and who don't work, who don't pay into these systems, and who never will do that, and who hate us, quite frankly. So that's unsustainable, everyone knows that, and we need to find a solution, and one way or another it will end anyway. Alright, so maybe in an upcoming video I will show some more data on the election. Maybe I summarize what we saw in Saxony, Thuringia, and Brandenburg, because this data really is a big white pill. I think the AfD will only grow. I expect them also to become a very, very significant player in Western Germany and in Germany as a whole. They need to become part of the solution, otherwise there won't be a solution, I think. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.